we have this little thing inside of us that sees the thing that nobody else is seeing. So we want that sort of validation. And if the other person, somebody else who we respect or we care about or we value, if they go right past slide 7 or the button, we're like, okay, so I passed. So it's just me being too hard on myself. It isn't actually a problem. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with Steph and Jay. Hey, Steph.
Hi, Jay.
How you doing?
Do you need some permission?
You know what? I think the permission problem is a problem. I think we should talk about it. So,
I think that's a great topic for today.
you know what? Sold. So this week on Pickles and Pasta with Steph and Jay, we are going to talk about the permission problem. And what the hell is the permission problem? So I think a lot of people have it even outside of the type of work that we do. But what we are talking about is where you're doing something or you're working on something and it's probably ready to go, but somehow deep inside you, you're waiting for permission from somebody or from something. And you really don't necessarily have to do that. And it's an interesting dilemma, I think, that many of us run into. Um, and Steph, I know, because we've talked about it. I know we've talked about it that where you feel this as well. I mean, do you want to maybe share kind of your take on like how you see that as this issue?
Yeah, definitely. As a creative, as an artist and a designer, we're constantly coming up with our own ideas out of our imagination or experience or some other place inside of us. And I think, and I don't, I would be very curious to actually dig into this deeper with some like psychology analysis of why some people need more validation and permission than others. And I know I've definitely experienced it. And I think where I've experienced it has been in an area like, let's just say, have some fun today, for example. I think I've experienced, this permission problem many times throughout the 12 years that I have been focused on building a brand. And I think where the trigger is for me is when I'm maybe struggling a little bit with getting buy-in from certain groups or certain people that I would like them to come along the ride with me. And I think it is like this insecurity that comes out that is looking for validation from certain groups of people or entities, and it's eating away at your self-confidence in a particular venture. And I know that I have experienced that at different points along the road of doing Have Some Fun Today, whether it was when I was expanding and felt like I needed more, more people, I guess, coming at me and saying, yeah, this is good. And like kind of giving me that incentive to keep moving forward because there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that might be a little bit of the key. It's the uncertainty.
And you felt that if someone else said, "Oh my God, that's a great idea," then that was okay. Then it was okay. You on your own, it
Yeah,
wasn't
then
okay.
that, because, there's so much uncertainty when you do something creative. You don't know how it's going to land. You don't know if people are going to like it. And a lot of times you're investing, like with Have Some Fun Today, you're investing a lot of money into a production run. or a whole direction. And I think it's that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll let you
No, no, go ahead.
finish.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
No, I just think it's that uncertainty. And also, like, for me, I'm just going to be honest, like a lack of experience around how certain things go. So it's like you're grasping for signs that you're going in the right direction. And so I think that's where I have needed or looked for permission. I mean, I don't know. I don't think permission is exactly the right word for me because I don't
Yeah,
ever
I
really
think it actually I think it
ask
is.
for permission.
No,
You
I
do?
know.
You think it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll tell you, I'm gonna throw a whole bunch of stuff at you now. So
Okay,
first of all,
cool.
I think that, and we're just talking about you per se, but it makes me think about it in other contexts too, and myself and different people I know. So you come up with an idea about something, whatever it is, right? So you're going to paint something, you're going to design a collection, whatever it is. You don't ask anybody's permission about that. You come up with the idea, you figure it out, you know what it's going to be, you have the vision, and you say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and you go do it. You don't ask anybody for permission. You just go for it. And then when you're just about to like open the door, like right, so you can imagine like you open a clothing store or whatever, right, or a hair salon, and you did it, and the chairs are right, and the washing part's right, and the tools, and you got all the supplies and everything, and you're ready to go, 100% to go. And now it's just time to open the door to let that first customer. And you're like, wait a second, wait a second, okay, wait, I got to make sure that I'm okay. And you kind of get to that point where it's like, now I'm going out into the real world. Something deep inside says, I better make sure somebody says it's okay because you kind of that's when you start to kind of have a little bit of like maybe maybe not, and you could take it that example into anything. So you could take it with you write a business plan, you're ready to go. Everybody on your team says it's good, we're done, we're tired of working on this, whatever, and then you're like, I don't want to pitch it yet. I'm going to go check with this other person first. And I think there's this some sort of a thing about we have all this confidence, we know we're right, we've driven this ship, it's ready to go, and then at that one point, it's kind of like something tells us like just maybe not, maybe I'm not right, and I've done all this stuff, and and I get a sense that that happens not just to you or to me or to other people, but I think that's the sort of thing that happens. That's how I'm sensing this. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but
No,
as you
that
were
I mean
saying it, it
that
made a lot of sense to me. Because I've seen you
yeah.
design stuff and you do it and you do the sketches and you're like really adamant when like this isn't the wrong place and you're totally confident. And someone says, no, that's the way it is, and you're like, no, this is the way it has to be. I know this thing, it's right, and you push hard on the thing that you know is right. But then when it's time to go, it's kind of like then you kind of not you, I'm saying you, it's a general thing. I think that that's kind of where that comes into play because then it's out. Once it's out there, it's out there. Like then it's out there, and then I don't know. I think that could be that could be part of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm happy to hear what you say, but
No, I think that that definitely could be part of it. I don't know so much if that is my experience. I think my experience is more around if something hasn't worked, then there's like this chip at the confidence. And so if that happens enough, you start to doubt yourself when you're doing new things, let's say for the brand. And I think over a 12-year period, like with any brand, there are going to be hits and misses. And I've had plenty of hits, but I have plenty of misses. And I think over time, the accumulation of the misses and knowing how much money was spent on those misses kind of makes you want to seek some validation at times. Maybe not all of the time, but at times. And honestly, I'm just going to say this like, in a way, it's not a bad thing. So many times in the past, whether I was painting or designing a space for a client or designing a new bag or a new t-shirt or whatever, you know, sometimes to really go back and really think it through is probably a good thing. And maybe I was too impulsive many times in the past. And maybe it's a good thing to like check yourself a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I think, look, everybody has an opinion, right? Everybody, everybody, no matter what, you ask five people, you're going to get five different things. I think, so I think what happens is, or one of the things that happens is that we do something, right? We create something, you, me, whoever. And we know what's good about it, but we also know nobody knows what's wrong with what we're doing than us. Nobody knows that better. Nobody. We know the part that's wrong. We know the part that's not exactly the way we want it to be. It's the color is just a little bit off. The button is just 1 centimeter off to the left. We know it. We know it in our heart of hearts. We know that slide seven, you just kind of like, fuck it. We're going to keep slide seven. You know slide seven isn't right. You know that that's the hole that the client or the investor is going to punch a hole through it. You know it, know it, know it. But you get to that point, you're like, okay, it's go time. Like, I got to go. Like, I've been waiting too long, I got to go. Or it's time, it's delivery time, it's whatever. And so we have this little thing inside of us that sees the thing that nobody else is seeing. So we want that sort of validation. And if the other person, somebody else who we respect or we care about or we value, if they go right past slide seven or the button, we're like, okay, so I passed. So it's just me being too hard on myself. It isn't actually a problem. And I think that might be part of it. I don't think that's conscious. I don't think it's a conscious thing, but I think it's a subconscious thing. I know, like for myself, if I've done a presentation or a deck or built something and I'm like, oh God, I know this thing isn't right. I know it's not right, this one thing, but everybody else says it's okay and I'm overreacting, whatever. And then we go for it. And then when the one person says something about something else, I'm like, I dismiss it. I don't dismiss it, but like I listen to it like, no, we thought about that and this is the best way to do this. But when they punch a hole in the thing that I didn't have confidence in, that's when I don't crumble, but that's when I'm like, fuck, we have to change this. That's when I'm like, this has got to change. And I have a suspicion that might be part of this. That might be part of why I don't think it's conscious, but like we want someone else to say the thing that we think is a problem isn't a problem. Somebody that we really, not the person, because when we do things, and we've talked about this in other things, like, there's people on the team and they just want to get it done and they want to move forward. So when you're at that place and you show it to somebody, for this validation or permission, if they find the place or the spot or the thing that just, it could be like for you in a painting. You're like, I'm not happy with this one little piece, but you're like, I think I'm good. And you're like, I've done this so much, I'm going to stop. I got to stop. And someone comes in and looks at it and says, oh, that's great. What were you thinking? What does that piece mean? You're like, I knew I should have spent another 6 hours. I knew I should have stayed up that night and fixed it, right? You just know it. But when they go right past that, I think it opens up your confidence a little bit more. Like it's it could be anything. You could put that into any example, but I think that's where this comes into play. I think I don't know. I'm trying to think of for my own sake, like what I've done and being around you with what you've done and other musician that's got to go on stage and do a song and they know that one little hook's not right and then they can see the audience didn't react to it. So I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, Jay, I think it really comes down to each individual's relationship with their their craft. That's what I think it is, and how much confidence they have in themselves to do the thing that they're doing. Maybe that's why I never ask for permission when I'm doing something. It's more permission like, do you like it? Which I rarely even ask that question. I think for me, it's my business acumen that has my Achilles heel when it comes to this permission thing. And I think it's not so much based around the design and the ability to design, but it's the ability to do this other thing that is tied to the creativity but isn't the creativity. And it's just having learning, but learning as I'm doing, with the business stuff is much different than going to school to learn how to do all the business stuff. So I think that's what it is for me. And I just think it's an individual case by case basis. I mean, let's talk about the people who could do something and have these creative ideas, but they have not given themselves permission to even do it. And I come across people doing that kind of stuff all the time, like asking for permission to start a business that they clearly could do. I mean, I have a sister who has wonderful taste. She thrifts amazing things and she gives them as gifts. Like, for example, last week during Art Week, it was one of the gifts she gave me was this long red leather coat that was very almost like Matrix like, only it was red. And I wore it to a bunch of art shows. And I must have gotten like 20 compliments from the most fashionable looking people in New York City. And I had to think, this is my sister. She picked this out and she would do an amazing job having a curated, consignment shop or something. But she hasn't given herself permission to actually do the business. She's been talking about the business, but she hasn't given herself permission to just do it. She doesn't need to ask someone for permission. She needs to give herself permission. And so what is that about? And so I think it's really comes down to our individual relationship with our confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting observation. I mean, look, I think there's different layers too. Like, I mean, you know, I don't want to harp on that, but I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think she can spot things and pick things that nobody sees, and it's incredible. I mean, it's really incredible. But maybe there's just, sometimes people talk themselves out of things because they want to do something different or they want a different version of it. And until someone comes to them and says, I see this, here's how you can make these things happen without the things that you might not be consciously not, excited about or thinking about. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what that part is. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, but look, to a certain extent, if you think about it, to go through it and to give yourself permission, not ask for permission, to a certain extent is a skill, right? Like that in and of itself, the fact that you come up with it, you do it, and you don't ask for permission. Like you just do it, no matter what. And they like it, they don't like it. Okay, they don't like it, I'll do the next thing. Like, and there's people that are
Mhm.
like that, I mean, in the tech world, it's a lot different, and the mentality with a lot of companies is ship it, which I always find it funny when they call it shipping because it's not actually shipping, but ship it and let it break and then we'll fix it. Ship it, break it, fix it. Like it's very automatic. Like they know it's not perfect. They know there's bugs,
Mhm.
they know there's problems. To a certain extent, some of those things, which I do agree with, no matter how much you test it, you don't know till you put it into a consumer's hands. Like there's that. That to me is a separate thing. But the confidence to say ship it, it's a big decision, right? It's a big decision because if you ship it and it's like a real mess, you could kill your whole company. You could kill, it could really be a bad thing. But those that can be like, nope, we're good, we're going. The train's leaving the station. That's it. We're ready for what's going to happen, but the train's leaving the station. End of conversation. No permission. No one. You don't like it. I don't care. Like we're doing it. We know. So some people may say that's arrogance, but you know, could be confidence, not arrogance, really. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, who knows your product better than you or your service better than you?
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree that who else knows your product better than you, for sure. But I think that there are a lot of factors at play. And I think maybe there's a little bit of a resilience. Maybe there are some people who are just able to handle the ups and downs of a creative endeavor slash business, and not everything is going to land, and some people can handle that and it doesn't affect their ability to navigate this permission factor. They don't need validation, and even if there's a miss with a product or a miss with a design, they don't let that affect them. I think for me, it caught up to me after a period of time, and you want certain type of people to like it, because when certain type of people like something, then it's popular, then it's successful, and you kind of buy into that whole trendy thing, and that can affect your ability to give yourself permission to do the next thing. So it can snowball, sometimes, given how you navigate the ups and downs of how things go.
Do you think though, I mean, listening to you talk about like how, over time you have experience and you change, you just, do you find like that maybe after you've done it and you've gotten burnt, like you tend to want permission more because you're like, okay, I did this, I didn't get permission, it didn't work, or do you feel you get more confidence? Like, is it, like, is it a big difference? Because you could say, well, if I have more confidence, I've done it more, I know I don't have to ask. Other people are like, no, I didn't ask before, I better ask this time. Like, it's a kind of a tricky, it's kind of a little tricky, right?
It is a tricky thing because as a designer, you want to be ahead of the pack, and that's the thing. I do think I am a little bit ahead of the pack, in certain things that I've done, and so lining that up where the right audience will see the right product at the right time can be tricky, especially when you don't have a lot of money to do like marketing studies and different things that companies do to kind of prevent misses from happening. You're kind of on your own when you're a small little brand, coming out with something that you feel is right, and it is right, but maybe it's right for the company that has millions of dollars to put into marketing it. Maybe it's
Do,
not
do you,
so right for the person that doesn't have that ability.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could see that to some extent. I mean, I wonder, you know, if you think about these things, like, does your upbringing have something to do with it? Does your relationship with your family, your current relationship with your family, not you personally, I'm saying as an individual, does anybody, is it the friend group that you're in? Is it, what are the different factors that get some people to like do it one way and other people to do it another way? Like, it's an interesting thing, right? We all, we've talked about before about like stuff that you in your upbringing and your relationship with your family, like how that affects you. There's other things like, well, you have friends that are like always very encouraging. Some people have friends that are always knocking whatever you have. Like you come up with an idea, you say, I'm going to do this thing, and they're like, oh, do you really think that's going to work? Or do you really think that price makes sense? Or like, it's really nice, but like, have you ever thought of doing it this way? And it's kind of like, it can really mess with your head.
I mean, honestly, it does have a big impact. I mean, it's interesting. Before I started Have Some Fun Today, and I was, really on Instagram very early, and I was very into fitness. I was very into health, and it was before the influencer, and it was just at the cusp before the influencer. And I remember saying to my really good friend and the guy I was dating at the time, and I was saying that I wanted to start sharing health and like lifestyle tips on social media. And they were like, oh, you definitely shouldn't do that. People won't like that. And
That'll
I,
never
I think
work.
I think about that now. I'm like, what was I like the one time I listened to somebody, which I rarely, rarely listen to anybody, but I thought that was kind of funny. I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago. And so look, it does happen. I mean, I've felt that so many times in doing the
And so,
different
but why?
businesses.
Like, let's say, for example, with that, right? So use that as an example. So you had this great
Sure.
idea, right? Clearly ahead of your time, cool. And you talked to whoever it is you talked to, and they said, "Oh, that's not
They
going to
shut
work."
me down so hard.
And you were like, "Oh, maybe they're right." Maybe I shouldn't think of it. Maybe I shouldn't.
For the first time in my life, I was like,
Wow, you really picked the wrong time.
I was like, okay, like I just let it go. I mean, I was also dealing a lot with my dad and stuff. Like my dad was
Yeah,
sick
sure.
during this time,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
but I think about that now and I think I'm never going to do that again. Like, I'm just not,
Yeah,
so I'm not someone who really asked for permission. But I did that one time and I shouldn't have listened.
that'll learn you, right?
Yeah, that'll learn me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we do it at different times. I think we do it at different stages. I think, it's I don't know. I mean, look, I think if you're doing something like where you're in a singular business, like as an artist, let's say as your art, like you don't ever ask anybody about your art. I mean, you ask them, you tell them, hey, I did a new painting, and they're like, oh, and you're like, yeah, I don't care. You don't like it? That's okay. I don't. You just don't care, right? Like you get to a certain point where
No,
like, yeah, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you. I'm showing it to you because it's a nice, I show you, you show it to the people you care about, but um, you're not asking for anything in that regard. I think
no.
when you were doing, I mean, obviously we're not doing as many new collections with Have Some Fun today. Things have changed with the brand, and we have stuff, and we do have really nice stuff, whatever. But you're not. That was an area where I think you were maybe more, and I don't know, maybe it was because that was a product, and we had to sell multiple products, and maybe with the art, you're like, it's a painting, that's it. There's one buyer, one person buys it, that's it. I don't have to sell 700 of these. I don't have to 7,000 of these. I don't know. Maybe do you think maybe that has something to do with it? That when it's like a product as opposed to like, you know, a singular thing or do you think that has
Yeah,
something
I
to do
mean,
with it?
it probably does. But honestly, I have to say this too. There were so many people over the course of running Have Some Fun Today that would be like, oh, I really think you should do this. And, I'd put it in the back of my head. And then, I would design something that would fit what they asked for. And I have to say I do regret doing that because a lot of the time when I listened and did that, it did not work out. And they were the misses. So I
Yeah.
think I mean I think you just really you can't do things because you think someone else you're going to do something that someone else is going to like. I think you have to do things that you really love and then you're just in a much better position because you can back it up. You can just put yourself into it and you can know that that came from you and that didn't come from somebody else. So you can't blame anybody else. And like there were times when I wanted to do certain things or have some fun today because I wanted to get a certain segment of people I knew to like the brand. So I did certain things that I thought they would like, and that
Mm.
was a mistake too.
Yeah.
So, you go through different experiences when you're creating stuff, and some of them turn out and some of them don't. And I think the bottom line for me is that it's always works out the best when it comes from me and it's not me trying to please somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, look, like we've discussed this, right? I mean, you're not going to please everybody, no matter what you do. Someone's always going to find something that you could have done it this way, you could have done it that way, and I think, look, it's tricky because you know we do want people to like what we do. I mean, if we're making a product, we want people to buy it. That's why we're doing it. We're not doing it just to spend all this money, take all this time, do something and nobody buys it. Whatever it is, whether you're selling ice cream or whether you're selling handbags, right? And if you're building something and you want investment dollars, like you want someone to give you the money, and then if you build the product, you want people to subscribe to it or to watch it or to learn it, whatever. You make a film, you want people to watch it. I mean, I've said this often as we talk about the stuff that we're working on and how important it is. Like people who work on films, like you obviously want to get paid, right? If you're a gaffer, if you're an editor, if you're in a profile position where like people are going to know, oh, that's the editor, that's the director, that's whatever. Or if you're a production assistant, like you want to work on a film that goes someplace, right? I mean, you want to work on a film that people liked, even though you weren't involved in the creative per se. If you were in the creative, that's obvious why you want that to work because that furthers your career. But regardless, you want to be like, yeah, I worked on that project. I work for that company and they do these great things. Like we all want that. So, I think that having those situations, I think it's important. I think it really helps, and I think we want that's I don't know if that's permission or validation or whatever, but I think that's where as the leaders or the designers or the owners or whatever, we have to do that. We have to have that confidence to be able to say it's time to take this to market. It's time to bring this out there. And I think it's tricky. I think it is tricky, but I think that that comes with the territory. If that's not something you're comfortable having to deal with, and what comes with it, some people may say that really sucked. We really don't like it. But you have to be able to do that, or else you can't. You just can't do it. You can't be in a business.
Yeah, and I'd have to say though, um, just in terms of all of this, I'm really glad for all those experiences, the bad ones, the not so great ones, and the fabulous ones. And that helps me as a designer, as a business person, and I think the through line for the whole thing about permission is know your craft, and you are the only one responsible for giving yourself permission.
Do you find like in the social media age that we're in, do you feel that maybe overconsumption has an effect on our own confidence? Like where we, because of that maybe we're seeking permission more than when that wasn't a thing. Like, you constantly, right, as a designer, you see things as a founder, as, in the being in the entertainment world and the tech world, it's like I'm seeing other stuff. I'm seeing somebody else's movie. I'm seeing somebody else's tech project that's launching. I'm seeing, and you get kind of like, oh, mine isn't that. Like, oh, but I really want to do that. Like, do you think that affects the part like where now because we see all this stuff, like we're consuming so much that ultimately affects, our desire or asking for permission or whatever it is. Do you think that's part of it?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure it has an effect. I haven't found that effect to be negative on myself, but I come to my work with a high level of confidence. So for somebody else who doesn't come to things with a high level of confidence, I think that that would be a negative,
Be demoralizing.
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be. When I go out in the world, not just seeing on social media, I mean, I just spent the last 2 weeks going to major art fairs and big gallery shows all over New York City, and it was incentivizing, it was electrifying, it was stimulating. It made me feel like I am on the right track. So it was a positive for me seeing what's happening on social media. It definitely didn't lower my personal confidence level. If anything, I think it was it was a good situation. I felt
Look,
good.
you come back from seeing those things, and I don't take this as cocky because I too, I do think your work is tremendous. And again, it's not that I love every single piece of art that you do, but I can see the talent in every piece of art that you do. And there's some that as a personal taste, I like, and certain ones that I love, and certain ones that I'm like, it's nice. It's not for me. It's not for me. If it was like,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
it was like,
Absolutely.
hey, babe, go do your office or go, whatever. If you want to get another place, someplace to have a place, pick any art you want. There's some pieces I would say, I'll pick that, I'll pick that. No, I'm not picking that. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But you
Fair. Yeah.
go, I'm sorry?
I said that's fair.
Right. So, but you go to these things and you come back and you'll be like, I could see my work in these places. And you don't say that, and that sounds arrogant, but it's not arrogant. Like, I don't think when you say that, I don't take it as arrogance. No, listen, we both know enough people in our lives that are fucking arrogant. And they say things and they're like, okay, you're an idiot, and you're obnoxious. Like, that's not what you're saying. You're like, you look at the work and you look at your work and you're like, yeah, if I was curating, if I was the curator, and I would put mine there, and I would put that incredibly famous one there, and I would put that one that sold for $50 million there, and you're in the mix because you're in the mix. It's I mean, kind of to the point, like you don't require any permission for that. If I said to you, listen, there's an open call from Christie's or Sotheby's or whatever, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not there yet. You'd be like, okay, I'll apply.
Yeah, they
Like
don't
you
have
would,
open calls, but I hear
you
what
know
you're
what I
saying.
mean. You know what I mean. Don't be a smart ass. You know what I'm saying.
No.
You know what I'm saying.
I don't want our viewers to think Christie's has an open call. That's all.
Well, no, I think it's good for them because let them go submit. It'll be hilarious. And they'll be like, what are we getting all these submissions for? Oh, it's those pickles and pasta guys again. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
No,
you
I do.
you
I do.
with that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that when you think about some other things, you might be like, okay, I better make sure other people like this. I bet like I think, and I don't know. I'm thinking as we're talking through, I think we're hitting a little bit like it depends on the type of thing. So I think part of it is the type of person that you are, that
Yeah.
you find your own way to have your own confidence, whatever upbringing you had or current relationships you have. And I think that's important, like, 'cause, and that's not this topic that we're talking about, but surrounding yourself with the people around you that inspire you and move you forward and don't, because a lot of people around naysayers and they're
That's
really
true.
talented. They're really,
Yeah.
really talented, but when all the time they always hear, no, 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 you shouldn't do that. Go do this, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll
then
affect
then
someone's
you're always going
confidence.
to ask for permission, right? You're always going to ask for permission because you're like, shit, can I sit? Can I stand? Should I go? So
Yeah.
I think that is very,
That's
very,
true.
very important.
Hmm.
And all of us can learn from that. And it's not an age thing. I mean, granted, when you're a child, you're limited, right? Like you can't be like, like in the cartoons, you take your little stick and your little bag and you're going to run away from home. No, but when you're an adult, I don't know, that adorable picture came into my mind, the stick with the little thing. I love that. But when you get older, at a certain point, you can make those decisions. You can be like, okay, these friends are not good for me. That
Yeah.
family member, okay, I may love them and they're my whatever type of family member they are. Love them, great. I have to spend a limited amount of time with them. I have to spend a limited time of going to them, telling them what's going on, because I'm not going to feel so good. I know whenever I tell them about a new idea that I have, they make me feel like shit. And it doesn't mean that you also want to be the other side of people. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yes, definitely you should do that. Absolutely. I definitely think crossing the highway with your newfangled device is going to definitely work. Like, you know, okay? You don't want those friends either. But I think we can work on those things. And I think if we put ourselves in those places, then when we do ask for permission, it's good because it's a good thing. But we don't do it at a point where it just kind of destroys whatever it is we're going to do. And I think that's the trick to learn. I think that's the thing to kind of really process and work on that. I think that if I would have to give any advice on this topic, I think that would be the thing is like find that balance. You got to have confidence in yourself no matter what. You got to believe in yourself. Yes, you're going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong sometimes. You are, but that's
Yeah.
okay. And you just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like in sports, like you got to take that shot. You got to take that shot. And if I mean, Jordan said it, like he was wrong 80% of the time, whatever the number was. Like you think of like one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time, missed like way more than he hit. So, but you got to go for the shot, or you got to go for that forehand down the line. Like you got to go for it. Like you just got to go for it. And if it's wide, it's wide. But you went for it. Um, yeah. So I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah. And I also just want to add this one final thought because I say this to myself a lot. Fortune favors the bold. And so sometimes you just have to be your own, like in your head with whatever statement gets you to center yourself. And for me, I've been thinking about that, because sometimes, life can beat you down and past experiences can kind of get in your head and you can get a little bit of that PTSD from that thing that didn't work or that thing that didn't work. But, you got to go for it, and you got to be bold about it. And so that's where I am with permission.
Okay, don't ask for permission, be bold. Um, that's a bumper sticker. Um, cool. All right. Well, that was interesting. I think. I hope I hope anybody else did. Um, we're not doing this for ourselves. Um, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please share any thoughts, ideas. Follow us on social. Um, Send us notes. Send us messages. Send us cookies. Um, for me, babe, the cookies are for me.
Jay likes sweets,
I
yes.
like sweets, yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you or speak with you sometime soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.